barely making it. We are
Yeah,
live.
but we're here. But we're being cringe, I guess.
Well, your guitar playing is not cringe. I don't know how you're managing to do that while also holding a mic.
No, I'm just as surprised as you. Oh, there you go. That's what was going to happen at some point. But I just wanted to see because I don't have this set up. I don't have it mic'd up. Like I have a mixer over here, but it's single channel. So I have like a mic plugged in, but not this cables and AV stuff is crazy. Let me put this down for a second.
I'm also realizing that my mic cable is squished by my box that I'm using to hold up the laptop.
Oh yeah, I just realized that my headphone cable could probably use an extra 2 feet. Like I went and I was like, oh, but not so bad setup for the trial run of the new space,
the new studio.
Yeah, and I think what's up, Marianne? Hey, thanks for showing up. I don't know if you got in time, but we got the old 6-string over there out of frame. Yeah. So Kristen, welcome back to the US of A. Did you miss it?
Oh, always.
You can say no.
No. I although I grew up in Asia, I never quite fit in, so I feel like I'm happy to be back home.
What did you miss the most besides your wonderful partner?
Meat. Sounds kind of messed up.
What? like just any meat or specific meats, deli meats?
Like beef. Like that,
beef.
I feel like like just steak.
Well, we can get some beef going on this. Wait, so hold on. So there's no steak in where'd you go again? If you don't dox if you don't want to.
Oh, I think it's fine. Like it's broad enough. Yeah, Malaysia, Singapore, like they have like black pepper lunch. Have you had that? It's like sizzling plate.
Is like fajitas?
Kind of.
What's up, Liv? Thanks for dropping in.
Japanese fajita sort of situation. Like
that actually sounds incredible.
Yes, and that's like one source of beef, but I feel like the other dishes you just don't get very much meat usually, like especially.
So you miss the portions. You miss American portions.
Yeah, which is like such a
we got there eventually. Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I'm like,
it's more like the proportions. It's the fact that like everything is always super carb heavy, and you don't really have a choice.
Yeah,
like you can order like a la carte, but it's like kind of weird. And whereas here I can choose to be low carb.
You can choose to be cringe because it's not that cringe. Yeah. Are you do you have any kind of special diet that you like actually follow? I have no idea. We've never talked about this. But now that you're doing the health stuff, it's like I don't know, I'm interested.
Yeah, that's true. So I feel like am I like a good example? I'm not sure. I do try to like not eat as much processed food, but it's not like I don't at all.
I mean,
I feel like defaults.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the thing about Asia is that you can have like I feel like the median meal that you like get for takeout or whatever is going to be just generally, I don't know, more close to natural caloric proportions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Because like you get a burger in the US and it's good, but it's also like, oh, this is probably a science burger. You know what I mean? I spent a summer in Taiwan, and I just remember that whole summer. I mean, to be fair, I was at a military academy there on an exchange, so I ate kind of like military food for most of the time. But when we went out, went to like night markets and stuff, like you could, I mean, first of all, if you ever go to Taiwan, go to the night markets. Incredible. I'm assuming other countries in Asia have similar things. But you could, spend $5, eat like a buffet, but also still not feel gross afterwards because all of it was like generally, I don't know, lean quality to it.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much, Mariam. Hello, Liv. GM Tutorizer. Hi, Tory Stories, who is stalking Mikado.
Oh. Why? I mean, Mikado is an interesting guy to stalk, but
Yeah. And I think your Windows sweatshirt is getting quite popular.
Thank you. Can I be real for a second? I've had a couple, some actually cause for sadness, and some like, kind of just overreacting. This is an overreacting one.
Okay.
I mean, like my notebook, we talked about that in the last one. I was like, I still feel bummed about it, but I'm like getting over it. I was eating some ramen and I spilled the orange ramen on this shirt and I can't get the stain out. And now this used to be my go-to. Oh, I'm just going to go like outside, like lounge, like I got to go to the store or whatever. And now I'm like, dude, it's too neck beard. Like I'm too close to the line of neckbeardy to wear like a hoodie with stains on it.
Like a paste of OxyClean might work.
Kristen, when I tell you that I have tried to get the stain out, like I used to be in the army.
Everything?
Like we had stains and we had to like get them out.
Did you try an enzyme remover? One of those, like the ones for babies?
No, that actually I haven't tried. I haven't ever tried that.
Okay, let me link you one.
I think I'm just gonna get another one.
Fine.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like send me the enzyme remover. I'll dump stuff in it.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun experiment.
What did you eat in the military in Taiwan? Do you not?
Fish eyeballs.
Seriously?
I mean, that wasn't like a bucket of fish eyeballs, but it's like the typical barracks or like mess hall food was like a fish, like a whole fish on a plate, a portion of tofu, and then some rice.
So you eat Asian food. I don't know why I imagined that they would somehow serve American food in the Taiwan.
No, it's actually like especially during the Vietnam War, like famously the Viet Cong like survived off of like a very tiny ration of tofu and like just absolutely crushed it in terms of fighting in a lot of ways. And so it's like, no, it is different.
Yeah, but I thought that's for the Viet Congs. I thought you guys just ate like normal, like American food.
I mean, it was the Taiwanese military, so it was what they were doing at their they don't have like the same structure as we do with like West Point is Army and Naval Academy is Navy. They have like a technical college where like the engineers go to, and it's like military, but they're like split by functional group. And so there's like technical, there's like I think a combat arms one, like infantry, and then there's like a political, so like a staff officer kind of college. And so I went to the technical one, just did like engineering. I basically, without getting too into it, they need an exchange student to come every year to get like maintain an international accreditation of some kind. And so they do an exchange with the Virginia Military Institute because they can't do an exchange with West Point because the U.S. doesn't officially recognize the Taiwanese military as its own thing. And so I came and I was just like a VIP for like 2 months or whatever, and because they needed me to have a good experience so that someone would come back next year.
Oh man,
it was a lot of fun.
So cool.
Yeah, I had a blast. I still talk to I don't talk to the male host that showed me around. I don't know what he's up to, but the female host, she's incredible. She's here doing a PhD, or got a PhD from Carnegie Mellon or something like that. She's brilliant.
Oh, cool. Do you tell her about the show?
No, because like I haven't. I mean, I don't know if she'll ever see this, but like she reached out to me when she was applying to her PhD. She's like, "Hey, can you help me with my English?" And I hadn't really talked to her since Taiwan, so it'd been like 5 years. And I was like, "Absolutely!" And then she got in, so I was happy for her.
Very cool. Oh, there's people want
to get a nice patch.
See your stain.
Well, I mean, okay, it's like, oh, that's my belly. But yeah, you see what I mean? It's like right there.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And then there's another one right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Relax, calm down. I'm vulnerable and immediately get the ooze.
That's slightly more neckbeard. It's okay. I just woke up.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, I shouldn't have shown that because I was planning on wearing this for this show instead because it wouldn't be as visible.
So yes, episodes about cringe.
Yeah.
Something new that we tried to do is we tried to talk about it by Telegram chat when we propose the topic so that we don't forget why we proposed it.
I thought we were being sneaky about that, but I guess we're being open about our process. Also, fill airspace. I opened my window to get some air in, and now my door is shaking like there's a ghost attached to it. So I got to fix that. Be right back.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. GM Farcock, thanks for joining us. Okay, Tori, I see you're saying that there's a patch. The pocket sting could be embroidered or patched, or the whole pocket replaced. Ooh, the whole pocket replacement sounds really good. Yeah. So this morning, as I was scrambling to get ready, I realized
we back, baby.
Oh, you're back.
Oh. All right. You know what's great about this setup?
What is it?
I mean, the people might get some free feet pics because I don't have shoes on right now. It depends on how I lean.
And then I remember that was one of our metrics of fame is whether you have a wiki feed entry.
Yeah, I still, you know, you can't like say you want that because like obviously there's baggage with that.
You don't want that.
But like moments like that organically happen are very like, okay, so the real reason I want to continue to do stuff on the internet is like I just want to be part of the fabric of culture of the internet. You know what I mean? Because it's like been such an important part of my life. That I want the stuff that we organically talk about and the dumb jokes that we organically make to like worm their way into some sort of like it's like a version of Shakespeare inventing so many words. You know what I mean? Like I want to have that kind of impact in some way, shape, or form.
That's not a low bar at all.
Yeah, I mean, dream big, Kristen. We only got one of these bad boys.
So I proposed the topic cringe.
Yes.
But it's mostly because I've been in Cringe Valley myself.
Yep. The foot of Cringe Mountain.
Yeah. So I think of Cringe Valley as you haven't quite climbed Cringe Mountain yet.
Yes.
and you know you have to climb Cringe Mountain to
you're on your way to Cringe Mountain base camp.
Exactly.
Got to get over the Kumbu ice fall.
But I realized that like many of my friends are stuck in the same Cringe Mountain. So I'm going to use myself as an example, mostly because I didn't want to say like my friend said X.
Call them out. Tag them at that.
Yeah, based on actual conversations with friends.
Yeah.
So my latest Cringe Mountain is I'm trying to put out, you know, a new product offering, right?
Yes.
But then I'm in that phase right now where I am trying to re-examine ways in which I have failed in the past.
Yeah.
and being like, oh, but if I design it this way, like, and it's not even about the product, it's about the business model. Like the business model is where I'm most cringe right now, because like it's the 0 to 1 problem, right? Like I'm trying to put out something new, and like I can't make the math where I feel like it can be a sustainable model at this point, because I don't know how many people would want this thing. And you need to multiply it by the number of people who want this thing for it to be a viable sort of math. So I mean, that's how I've been annoying my friends. Is I've been like, you know, like showing them a little bit of something and being like, oh, but then like, you know, like how would I know that, you know, this number of people would like it? Like, how could I design a system where, yeah. But then the slightly smarter thing that I do now that I think is actually less cringe is like I no longer think, oh, I have to make this work, because I learned through all the years of like failing and like more successful things I've done. It's like I couldn't have predicted that it would have worked or not worked.
Yeah, 100%.
So don't design it that way, because that's a stupid board game you just made up for yourself. Like instead, like account for the fact that it may not work, but then how do you bounce back if it doesn't work?
So Kristen, that sounds a lot like our conversation on stop pre-optimizing your life. It sounds a lot like our conversation on capping your existential downside, and it sounds a lot like our conversation on maximizing volatility.
It is not either one of these really nicely written articles you can find on Cameron Substack. It's the fact that like, if I'm trying to put out something and have it be perceived as a luxury brand, like if I don't get uptake, that actually dings it a little bit. And which is the problem is like, oh, and then I shouldn't have it be perceived as a luxury brand then. That puts you in a like a don't try trap. Do you see what I mean?
Kind of, but those kind of feel like two different things. Also, Thumb, thanks for dropping by. What's up? And Tori, this was like a $30 hoodie. I'm not gonna change the pocket out, I don't think. But so Kristen, I feel like there's a lot of things in there. I definitely agree with the, hey, don't cut yourself off at the knees before you even start trying, because like, who knows if you're a good guess or a good estimator of whether this thing's going to work or not. Most people are not. And also the world changes literally every second of every day.
Oh, that too. That's also a huge background.
it's timing. Like timing is one of the most important things in any kind of important venture, because that's why longevity in a space is one of the most important factors in success, because it's not, hey, you've done this long enough to learn it, although that definitely helps. You've survived long enough to be at the right time and place for the thing to start working is one of the other big parts of it. The luxury piece, so obviously I've studied luxury brands as part of my MBA, but
you have to do that every time you mention
MBA. I'll get like a pocket protector. But so yeah, MBAs are such dweebs, myself included. It's you want luxury, but it's not like handbag luxury, right? It's like a different kind. Or is it handbag luxury?
It's status luxury, which
what's the closest product that, like, I have a couple in mind that I'll list off, but like, what's the closest product in your head for the thing that you aspirationally want? Are we calling it Rogue Science? Is that what we're calling it?
Okay. Yes, we're stuck to that name.
Good. It's a good name.
It is a great name. Thanks for thinking of it.
I mean,
say that on the record that you thought of.
No, I mean, I think it's you know, I like my words.
So I feel like I can go into 1 million tangents, but then
what's a product that you want it to feel like?
Right. The point of it is that I realize that what I keep bringing up as perceived flaws, I have to air it out. So
yeah,
for example, right, one of the struggles I have right now is you know me, I fall into Instagram doom scrolling, and I really,
which is very millennial of you, by the way.
I know because I'm still on Instagram and not on TikTok, where I have the secondary garbage to the primary garbage of TikTok. But then when I fall into the whole of this, the sciencey Instagram reels where they start talking about, oh, this is new latest study that tells you blah blah blah, new thing you got to worry about, I immediately panic and go, oh no, I don't want to be one of these people. But then that is what a lot of science stuff online is these days. It's like an extreme of either science denial or here's the latest thing you gotta panic about, and one paper that we're gonna extrapolate into 1 bajillion different cases.
Funny how that's the most engaging style of content, and that it's curious how everything is like that. That's weird.
I know, right? It's like a self-rewarding mechanism, right? Because it's an engagement bait, under the veneer of science. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh no, first of all, I can't win against these people because they do make engaging content.
But no, I mean, you're never gonna win against Chicken Little, because you're not that energy. Also, what's up, Priyanka? Thanks for dropping by. But what were you saying?
So theorize is there's science on Instagram. Yes, but applied science, it's like skincare products, or here's a new drug, or
there's productized science,
poison you, that kind of thing.
There's packaged up science or processed science.
Exactly. And I'm ooh, I don't think that's helpful to a lot of people. And I feel like as I am trying to build the product, I'm trying to articulate my point of view, which my friend is saying just that essentially is what you're selling, is a point of view. So I'm okay, that's a really true thing. But I'm trying to say the nuance thing, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. That's why I'm a cringe mountain. Because I'm oh no, I don't want to say the thing that's not complete. But then I'm realizing that that's how you're I'm stuck, right? Because I'm not willing to put out the not well thought out statement.
Have you okay?
Right? It's
I disagree with something.
Science. Yes, exactly. Pop science.
I mean, Malcolm Gladwell with more panic.
Yeah.
Freakonomics before they realized Freakonomics was a good business model for science.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever?
Is totally still a thing. My friend just went to their like live event the other day or something.
God bless them. The you know Kyla Scanlon? You ever seen any of her economics content?
Mm-mm.
Oh, definitely check her out. I think she like toes. She toes the line of what I think you're trying to do with health stuff pretty well.
Okay. Do send it to me.
Yeah, I'll find her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like she's thoughtful. She's topical with a lot of her videos and content, but she'll do like shorts that aren't like.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like, hey, here's the thing people are panicking about Fed raising rates or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then she'll do like an economics professor take.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think that's close to what you're thinking of. But I'm not gonna let you not say the answer to the question that I want you to say. Like if you had to pick a product, not like features, not like what it does, not like characteristics, but like vibe. If you had to pick a product that you're like, hey, I want to make this, but for health via Rogue Science, what would that product be?
Oh, great question. I tend to pivot between products, but like, you know, I have to base it on like luxury products I like, right? So then it became like, oh, you know, like Apple, Patagonia, like those are the stereotypical products I like.
Interesting. What about those things do you like that they like have sleek? Yeah, Tori Story is like, what's the mood board is what I think she was saying, but maybe you have a mood board too. Yeah. What's up, Gwen? Thanks for dropping in.
Mm-hmm.
What's the like? I don't know, color palette, vibe, astrological sign. I don't know if you're into that.
The astrological sign. Well, I'm a Gemini.
Is that what you want the product to feel like, though?
No, I was starting to play around with like a lot of that like green, you know, the kind of like deep forest green sort of color palette. But then
if you actually like, sidebar, did you know that millennial gray, you know that's a thing?
Yes.
Do you know the Gen Z version of it?
No, I don't know.
Their color, I think somebody younger than me in the chat, correct me, is sage green. So like their default color is this sage green energy. So I mean, I think the forest green is on the right track for what people might be into when they start realizing that their back and spine health is not forever.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I feel like I like black and white. Like I was talking to a friend who works in like traditional Chinese medicine. Actually, like her family owns the oldest TCM shop in Kuala Lumpur.
What's a TCM?
And then we were talking about traditional Chinese medicine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we were talking about how Erewhon was another brand that I got brought up of like, oh, like why Erewhon, you know?
I mean, because it's
they work with another company called Absorption Company, apparently.
Are they a sponge company?
It's like a supplement company of some kind. So I was looking at their website, which is a lot of like black and white and like primary colors, and I like the look of that. Though I
black and white and primary colors.
Yeah, like mostly black and white with like a bit of pop.
Okay.
And I like that, but then I also thought, this is actually a little bit like very millennial, if I can say. So that's okay. That's one of my another cringe dilemma, right? Is like, am I trying to make it look like something I like or something? Am I guessing what other people who like, you know, who is my target market would like? And I've swung back to like, I'm just gonna make what I like because I realize it's not sustainable for me to try to guess what other people like.
Yeah. So Thumb likes the forest green. I think there's an interesting. You watched House? I'm assuming during its heyday, right? What'd you say?
Oh, I said I'm literally wearing the forest green color right now.
Oh, that's
what
funny.
were you saying?
You watched House during its heyday, right?
Yes.
You know how like in House
clips of it, by the way.
Yeah, you know how in House the answer is always a zebra, right? Because otherwise it's not an episode of House. The black and white, like there's something to do with Rogue Science, health, and zebras in there. I don't know if that's like a connotation you specifically want, but that comes to mind for me.
Oh.
So with like, what about this do you feel cringe by? Because it's like there's a difference between being stuck and then like cringe being the blocker necessarily.
I feel like it's the build in public aspect of things. Oh, your camera's still doing the thing.
I'm tracking.
So I can tell you what like unblocked the cringe.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting because I'm like, okay, how can I replicate this like unblocking thing that I did, right? So I unblocked myself when I talked a little bit more on the timeline about what I'm doing. Good. I think the cringe is when I feel like, ooh, I'm not ready to share yet. That to me is cringe. And yeah. I see that, like, you know, historically, because I built up audiences in different platforms, my biggest like cringe / like, which I think is mini shame, is like, oh, I didn't consistently communicate with you what I'm thinking about and like why I'm pivoting in a certain direction. So I think it's actually like some like subconscious repetition of like, oh, like that didn't go well last time, and then like wanting to hide in the corner, like that to me is cringe. So like every time I overcome what I call the cringe molehill, because it's so small, it's not even a mountain yet. Like on the foothills of cringe, is when I'm able to like, okay, like get over it, just like share a little bit of something, so that you can consistently drip out something. Because it's also like if I don't, like, I realize now that also that if I get stuck, if I talk it out, then I get unstuck, like kind of like a rubber ducking sort of thing. And
so point of order.
Mm-hmm.
You say the not wanting to share stuff is related to cringe. Is it the feeling of cringe that stops you from wanting to share stuff, or is not sharing it cringe to you? Because I think those are very different things.
That's why it's a loop.
So it's both.
Yeah, it's both. And that's what creates a stuck cycle, right? Like to me, like cringe is synonymous to being stuck. Oh, I realize that you're interpreting the word to mean doing something cringe, which to me is already like I've already overcome it because I have conducted the cringe.
Well, I mean, most people have not.
Like, that's the conventional way of viewing it, whereas I view it as if you don't even dare to do the thing, that is more cringe than what you think is cringe.
Got it. I mean, that's definitely not how the entire world used the word, but now I know. Now I know what you're talking about. So at least we solved that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Well, I think to be a creator, you just have to do the thing. It's all gonna be cringe. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't think that's as obvious. Like, obviously, we've been doing this and attempting versions of this for a minute.
Right, you're right. This is the intermediate stage of
like
cringe.
it's not obvious. Like you want to hear something really funny?
Yeah.
The moment for me that I realized, oh no, you do have to do this, like this thing that feels like like that causes an feeling over and over again, is when Ryan Gosling was on like a Today Show kind of thing, and they showed a clip of when he was a kid performing. You know, he was like a 12-year-old or whatever, and he was like,
I think I've seen that clip.
And you know, he crushes it. He's like, I mean, he's a performer. He's very, you know, he's a charismatic 12-year-old, I guess. But
as would be expected from Ryan Gosling.
But like he feels like a level of cringe from, but like he's crushing it. And so, you know, obviously, I don't think the things that we necessarily are doing are absolutely crushing it right now. But in retrospect, there's going to be glimpses like that, right? And so. But he didn't get to be Ryan Gosling without doing the tap dance show as a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? Like maybe there was a path that avoided it, but like that wasn't the path that got him actually no joke here. And so I think it's important to call that out because like it's not so obvious, especially when you just start doing this kind of stuff and you're streaming to nobody or whatever. It's like it isn't a death sentence, but it is kind of part of the process.
Yeah. And I think like that there is an aspect of cringe which is the avoidance part, not the actually being cringe part, like where one does not want to do something because I think that like, oh, I don't know whether this is gonna get me more information that is different from what I already know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind
What?
failing as long as I can, like, use that, knowledge of failure to do something different. But it's when I
But
feel like I failed in the same way and I have not gained additional information. I feel like that's that's when I'm cringing. Is I'm like, oh, like if I act now, then that may not be advantageous because I'm risking without a reward in my mind.
okay, I'm there, but how do you predict that ahead of time?
I guess this is the backwards rationale of once I'm like, oh, why am I not doing this one thing? It's because, like, that's how I interpret it as like, oh, you're not doing it because you don't know whether it's going to turn out good.
So, okay, but is the turnout good the information piece, or is the turnout good it works out the way that you want?
It works out the way I want, or it tells me something new that I can then improve upon.
Got it. So
Yeah.
you have to construct all of your scenarios to be like, hey, I'm gonna learn X from it, or else you like the hump is too big.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I think that's like a very interesting and rational way of processing all of this.
Irrational or rational?
Rational with a capital R. No ear in there. Like I think that's like very reasonable. You know, it's reasonable to not want to feel embarrassed or feel like you wasted your time. It's reasonable to like mitigate that with having a goal at the end of it, even if that goal, kind of morphs as it goes along, because you learn, oh, this isn't going to get me 10 million subs, but I might like learn something that gets me, another 1,000 or something. I don't do that at all, Kristen.
Okay, enough about me. What's your cringe?
I mean, my cringe is, I think, really in the first thing I heard was the hump is too big. I mean, my humps, my lovely lady lumps.
Lovely lady lumps. Very millennial reference.
Very millennial reference. BANINAS millennials reference. I like, my ego is the thing that I have to not mitigate because I think it's so powerful that unless I fully ignore it, I don't do things. And like what I mean by that is, I don't know the source of this, but if I put if I'm full performing, if I'm like full lizard suit, I'm in a business conference, it's not part of like my soul or me or whatever. I can do whatever. I'll sing and dance. I'll do whatever the thing that is required for that thing, because it's not me. It's like a full performance that I'm putting on for whatever the group that I need to get to do the thing that I want. And I've made like some content like that before. But it's really hard to do that for an extended period of time. Like, I think you can do anything for like 6 months, right? But if you want to keep doing stuff for a long amount of time, there's got to be like some other source of energy. And so for me, doing things that like, kind of like the guitar playing earlier, that like align with, oh, this is like a window into my taste. This is the thing that I like. And also there's like a skill element that I'm insecure about in there. If it ever touches any of the like actual part of me, there's like a deep-seated, oh, I can do this thing exactly the way that I want, and it not be good enough or whatever. And that's a direct judgment of me as a person who makes things and has taste. And that's the scary part for me. And so the way that I deal with that is by fully compartmentalizing that part of my brain and just like putting it out uncritically. And then ignoring it mostly, because I haven't gotten enough like trials of that out yet to have like the self, I don't know, confidence probably of like, oh, this is good even if other people don't like it. And so it's like this, it's a very different approach to what you're doing. Like my way of overcoming cringe is like turning that voice off and ignore and like just not paying attention to it. It's a good or bad signal.
So, but I mean, you still brought up something that you were cringe about, which is more work related. So why couldn't you have turned off your brain then?
Yeah, so that is tough. So the what Kristen's talking about is with my startup Seymour. We're in the middle of like a pivot, and I haven't really been posting about it because the work's taken a lot longer than I wanted it to. You know, we just keep running into more engineering problems, but we're close. The reason I don't talk about that is I think with creative stuff, you can be right. Like, and this is a little paradoxical, but you can be right in your mind because it is your taste and doing what you want. With startup stuff, I don't have the skill to make the thing that I want to make.
Well, that's where I'm stuck though.
Yes, but I don't like me saying like me putting out there, this is what I'm trying to do and not being able to achieve it doesn't make me work harder. It just like makes it glare. Like at best, it's a gun to my head to work harder, which like I've lived most of my life with guns to my head to work harder. And it's like not a state that I want to permanently be in. And so, but it's like a fully like I admit, it's like a full rationalization of not pushing that forward because I'm like, I have like an ego thing in it where like, oh, this isn't as good as I want. It also functionally doesn't work. So there's like a nuance with product stuff of saying, hey, this is a thing that I'm doing and it doesn't work yet. And so there's no call to action loop that somebody can do.
Yeah, so I think like that is the more practical cringe element, right? Because we will all like if we're trying something new and hard, like there will always be a skill gap between what we envision, what we want to put out.
Yeah.
And I think like people who are really good at navigating that are the ones who succeed because they are able to overcome the cringe of letting go of a product that's not perfect, right?
Yeah, but there's levels to it.
It's different in your case. Yours is like a 0 or 1. It either works or doesn't. There's no gradation. So it's a little bit different.
But the classic knowledge, like the way that you deal with it is by releasing a scoped down version of it, like an MVP, right?
Right, exactly. But I think in your case, like, I mean, there are possible MVPs, but I want to first address that we now have our official OK Banger food group of Shin Ramen.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
Smash the like button. Hell yeah.
Please smash a like button because it might do something algorithmically.
So Tori brings up an interesting point.
Cringe as an insult.
So I actually, you see the Zoomers play like a cringe game. You ever see that kind of content where they like line up in a row and it's basically like an improv game, but instead of
yeah.
And so they try to out cringe each other and keep going. And I think there's something like really interesting.
That's such a great game to play.
It is and it isn't.
Oh.
So like I think it's really good if the end state is overcoming cringe.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's how a lot of like young people are perceiving it. Like straight up, that is a Disney Channel original movie in a game that people play, right? Like growing up, we had these various like, hey, this is a challenge that young teens, whatever, face over the course of an hour and a half. Like you learn, hey, it's okay to be yourself or whatever. I think the way that like some like kids are growing up is like cringe is an immovable thing that must be avoided, not like a thing to overcome.
Oh, like, well, that sucks. What a sucky modern concept.
Yes. Well, so this is what Solarpunk's talking about. I think it's like it has turned from a part of life to a law of life. If that makes sense. And and it's like, frankly, I think it's super toxic because one person's cringe is another person's cool, and that's like always been true. But it just doesn't feel that way.
That like, you know, teens are establishing social hierarchy these days.
I'm sure. Like avoiding being cringe. I'm gonna be like, I don't have a teenager. You know, I haven't been a teenager for a minute, so I can't really speak to it. But the like it's really interesting to be old enough to see how things get cemented as if they were true, but it's actually a temporary blip on like either social rules or like societal implications. Like I feel like we've entered into a phase where like, oh, XYZ viewpoint is like the default, or it's like it's like the thing that must be true because it's the prevailing viewpoint. But you and I have existed in times where that wasn't the case. And so it's like you're living in a dissonance that for people that come of age during that time, like just don't have the context for.
Right. Oh, and Cool Beans who switched the account. It says that he was mad cringe in high school. Here's the thing. I feel like, looking back, like we all know there was that one kid who was mad cringe. Like they end up being quite successful.
This guy. Well, I'm not gonna say that, but like I was an emo kid in high school, skinny jeans, two sometimes three belts. Like I was a lot in a little bit. That might have, and like I was just a weirdo. Like I had a group of my emo kid friends, but I was in not quite rural Georgia, right? Like suburban outside of Atlanta, like an hour outside of Atlanta. And it was like a very straight-laced kind of area. And so, like there are parents that didn't want me to be friends with their kids anymore because of how I was dressed, as like the kind of energy. And it like,
which again, you can see photos of that. We get to 10,000 subs.
Yeah, 10K subs. Emo reveal. You already got the belly reveal today. You're welcome. Priyanka's right. Also with the ick, like the ick feels like a post-abundance problem with interpersonal relationships, or a post-perceive abundance problem. I mean, we've had some of these conversations before, and there's a very thin line to walk with this conversation. But the idea that a person can do one thing, one relatively innocuous thing, and you get to write them off in some facet of your life, like spiritually, I agree that it's your right to do. It doesn't feel like a good way to live your life to me.
Right. But like, practically speaking, again, like the way to overcome this like particular not ready yet project of cringe is to MVP it, right?
Or hide the teenager in the closet.
Right. Or shove them in. Like, and in your case, I'm gonna pick on your app for a second. Like theoretically, you could show screenshots or Figma drafts of what it's supposed to look like in a flow, and that would be the MVP. But I don't see you doing that right now, which
that implies that I use Figma.
Wow.
like I said, I'm not good at this. I just
or even
keep
an Excalibur draw of the thing, so that people have.
I should be doing that.
But for practical reasons, right? As you know, like you need people to line up outside the door before you open the door. And I feel like now you are a little bit at risk of launching and then having to do the line buildup while you're also launching.
Well, my assumption was I was always going to have to do that. Figma is like a design app.
A design app. Well, you can make it like a pseudo functional sort of app nowadays with Figma. Like you can have it set where you click a button and it does something.
If you're good at that and you know how to do that. I don't know how to do that, and on the Pareto, hey, just build the freaking thing curve.
You might as well build the thing.
Yeah. And so it is just I don't know if cringe exists if it's not public. Cringe says, I don't think cringe has to be public. I think that's an interesting thing to say, because I feel like the implication with cringe is that other people are perceiving you. But maybe not. What do you think, Kristen?
Oh, I think there could be internal cringe. But to other people, it just looks like you're doing nothing, which I think is in a way even worse. And am I referencing Lean Startup? I probably am.
Kind of like
that when I was quite young.
Like
anything like Ligma.
Yes, it's very much like Ligma. Like it's basically Ligma.
Yeah. So and then theoretically, like you can put out a pre-launch. Like I guess in your case, like you already have customers, so theoretically you already have the reach that you need in order to put this out. But like you could also put out like, fake ads and stuff like that to assess your market, because now you're soon going to be in a situation where you've already saturated existing market and you need to reach other people who you don't know yet.
I'm tracking all that, but the problem right now is I don't have a thing that works, and I have like a limited attention span, and I'm one of the 2 core devs on it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm the
Mhm.
only like front end, like the only person with front end taste. So, there's could I put in an extra 3 hours every night and do one of the things that you're saying? Probably.
So the cringe thing that you haven't overcome here is asking for help.
Well, I'm not going to ask people for help if I can't pay them, and I can't pay them because I'm running out of money.
Well, customers like to help.
Yeah. The kind of point is I could be doing more and I'm not, and cringe is a part of it. Exhaustion is another big part of it. Because like getting 10 people on a call is a lot of, I mean, you know that's emotional effort, especially when like
Wait,
the
who are these 10
content.
people on the call? Is that a show? What are you talking about?
I mean, it would have to be, right? Because that's who I can reach. Because I can't really get people on Varka. But like when I go through, like, so I've done multiple rounds of validating this concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so like revalidating the concept maybe as like a soft warming up for using it, like there's value in that.
Mm-hmm.
But the math of a 30-minute call to like reacquaint somebody with basically Excalibur drawings, because I can't show them the project, is
Mm-hmm.
actually like a 2-hour chunk of my day, because the hour before the call I'm distracted, and then the 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes after the call I'm distracted. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like the math just doesn't make sense in terms of like attention loss for doing it. But it could be fully cope on my part.
Yeah, how do you know when something is cringe versus cope?
Try it out. Like I'm kind of in a camp of like, hey, if I can't get this thing to work 0 to 1, there's no point in doing any of the other stuff, which is why I'm like as focused as I possibly can be on that while still doing stuff like this. The rebalancing of activities that I do, it's just hard to juggle, man. And like obviously we got other stuff going on besides just the show and work.
Well, Tori mentioned that whenever she feels cringe is when someone's trying to pull me into something I don't want to be a part of. Ooh, I totally know that one. It's the premonition cringe. Like, if I do this thing, then downstream, there will come a point where
is that
happen.
cringe though? Like,
what would you call that?
But so I'm trying to find the word. I would just call that like rebellion. Like I would call that like a just like a plain old, I don't like this, like I don't want to do that. It's what's the lack of desire? It's not the lack. What's the opposite of desire? Rejection. No.
Yeah.
It causes a frictional feeling. It causes an uh-oh feeling. Uh-oh feeling can be a lot of different things. It like you're making a prediction about the outcome of this thing, but like for me, and maybe I'm just being super pedantic with words, but like I think cringe is a very specific state where there's a potential for some kind of embarrassment. I think it's like the core of cringe, right? And like failure can make you feel embarrassed, but I don't think doing something and being worried about failure is explicitly cringe. Like I don't think cringe is rejection. Like I think cringe is like has a very specific timbre. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense?
I think so. I associate cringe. Maybe I'm misusing the word. I'm associating it to me.
Well, we already established that you are.
Right. We have any sort of like somatic body contraction feeling. Any sort of inhibition, I consider it a cringe already.
Inhibition. That's a good word.
Yeah, and then again, like the people who are, again, like it's sort of annoying because sometimes they are sort of narcissistic and like cringe in a bad way. Like I think that's where like you cringe in someone's face even if they don't want you to be around. But people who are like who have somehow become like cut off from the idea of embarrassment also tend to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, like it depends on the context, because there are a lot of contexts where embarrassment, especially if there's power or asymmetry, there's a lot of context where you need to be cognizant of social transgression.
Yeah. And even in Buddhism, there is the idea of like good shame, like moral shame, and it's for when you're doing something actually
Bad.
bad,
Yeah.
like killing people or like
Yeah.
lying or something.
Yeah. There's a
But
reason
like that
why
goes
penance
into
is a
everything.
core of religion. Like,
Right. But I think like, for most of us, I'm pretty sure everyone on this show is like most of us, it's like overdoing the shame is more likely the problem than underdoing.
yeah, I can
So it's
I
like
can
we're
see that.
trying to like narrow the field of cringe or something like that. And
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I also feel like it's a good signal, right? Like normally the things that we are tightening up about is doing the thing that we should do. Like the more
yeah.
cringe it actually is better, right?
I mean, I don't know if that's a hard and fast rule, because I like the most cringe thing I can think of is going to, Times Square butt ass naked and doing, I don't know, like there's like a version of that that doesn't help you at all.
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of like things on your to-do list, which
Yeah.
good for you if the being naked Times Square isn't on there, but on a practical daily basis, like oftentimes the cringe indicates the Ben Franklin like important and not urgent thing to do, the number two in the quadrant. So therefore, we actually should use cringe as a prioritization tool, right? Like you know me, like I feel like the thing I'm
Yeah.
cringe about is the thing I should be doing.
I think that can be true. I think I'm not in the camp of the cringe thing is the thing that is always the next best thing to do.
Really?
Yeah, because like there's like a lot of versions, like
Mhm.
there's like a reward for that cringe thing that you want to do. And I think
Mhm.
that there are things that are like lower levels of cringe, but potentially higher reward to do in different circumstances. I think for one that we're dealing with is editing content. Editing content isn't very cringe, but it's work, it's schlep, and do like
Oh,
sometimes
I
doing more
consider
editing.
it to be our cringe pit.
No, that's I feel no cringe when editing. It's just oh
That's
that,
how you've been doing it, but to me, it's been my cringe pit.
what about editing causes you to feel embarrassed in any way?
Great question. It's not embarrassment, but I think like when I feel like there's a long schlep and that my skill, it's a skill gap issue. It's like, oh, like what I want to do is so far from what's coming out. Well, it's coming out so slowly that I don't even want to start, and that is in a way a form of cringe.
That
I'm
feel
using
that
it more in the inhibition sense, not in the embarrassment sense.
yeah. I mean, cringe mountain is a specific mountain in a mountain range of hard things.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's grind mountain where you just got to show up to work and shut up in color and you keep doing it. There's
Mm-hmm.
cringe mountain where it's like putting yourself out there and exposing yourself to some sort of emotional
So you're
rawness.
differentiating it to Schlep Mountain instead of
Yeah.
Cringe Mountain.
Yeah. I definitely think it's different, because coding is also for me kind of schlep mountain, where it's like when I
Oh.
start doing it and I'm in a groove, like I'm not afraid of it. I just
Mhm.
know that, there's like
I think the chat's
30
agreeing with
hours.
you.
Yeah, chat, pile on, beat her up. But like it's important to have like the right words, because if it's
Yeah.
not, everything that I do in my entire life is meaningless, because I love words. But also I think it makes sense to have the right words for things, because if you can't name a thing, you can't deal with the thing. Like if you can't name it, if you can't describe what's happening necessarily,
Mhm.
it's very hard to understand how you mitigate the problem that you're facing. Because I don't think you solve problems. I think you
Then
mostly
then
mitigate
then we're
problems.
cooked, like, because don't Gen Z use the same few words to mean a variety of meanings?
I mean, yeah, but that's human history. Like language always evolves and it's always been a moving target. And in the same breath, I think words can mean whatever you want them to mean. Like I'm not like hey, this is
Oh,
the
I
dictionary
also think this is a
definition.
cultural thing. This is totally an Asian thing.
What do you mean?
Because in the sense, oh, whenever you say that, oh, words have meaning and blah blah blah, I'm in my head, I'm going, no, they don't. Because
okay.
a lot of Asian languages is about context. So I like the same word can mean totally different things, especially words in Cantonese, which is why I speak. Like very hard for other people to learn because we use the same freaking word for everything.
But that doesn't
And
mean the word doesn't have meaning. It just
it
has
does,
more
but it
meaning
has
than the character on the page.
correct, which is why I think the word cringe to me means so many facets of things because I'm transposing the same like language pattern where like if I use cringe in this context it means this, if I use it in the other context it means that. You
Sure,
see,
I
like
buy that.
it's wider on my spectrum, whereas for you it's more precise, which makes makes you a good poet, whatever. But then like you know what I mean?
Like, yes, I use the same word to mean a lot of different things, or the same sound to mean a lot of different things in poetry. So, like, I do agree with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
I'm definitely an
axes.
unpopular opinion, Norman Rockwell guy standing up situation here.
No, it's like I'm not disagreeing with you. I think like I'm not disagreeing with you globally. I think words are kind of like comedy in that you and I only have so much of a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're in the US, we're talking to a global audience, but like we're speaking in English. The prevailing sentiment for words is part of our responsibility as communicators. And so like again, this is super low stakes. I'm just being kind of obnoxious because it's funny. But the context of a word in like the sentence or the conversation or whatever, I fully
Mm-hmm.
agree. It can change and should change what it means.
Mm-hmm.
For this conversation where we're talking about cringe, it feels pretty reasonable to be like, hey, this is the version of cringe that most people think of when we talk about cringe.
Yeah. I'm sure most of the chat agrees with you.
Oh man, is one of our core micro fan bases going to be pedantic people on the internet? I hope not. I
Yeah.
mean, just kidding.
Hello.
It'll be our people.
I feel like I'm just pedantic about different things, right? Like the science episode where I'm a lot more penetrate there.
Yeah, true. Again, I'm trying to get you trying to speak dumb. You trying to say smart things dumb.
So what have we learned today? Like for me, like building in public overcomes some internal cringe of getting stuck.
Yeah. No, keep
What
going.
about you? Did you learn anything?
Not a thing. No, I mean
okay. I'm trying to be a PBS episode here. What
No,
have
I
we
mean,
learned,
like,
kids?
I don't know, man. Like I think we learned I have some real unresolved ego issues with software.
I still want to probe on that because I'm like, okay, like if you're stuck, like
but I don't feel stuck.
Oh, okay.
I'm just working. That's like the difference. Okay. It's not like, oh,
but I want to know. Like I want to see a little linear, and then I want to see the little check marks.
It's too much planning apparatus for too few people to be handling. For context for anyone, linear is like a dev tracking software, but I'm in this like a little bit of a Groundhog Day Sisyphus like climb of, oh, more tools will help us ship more, but then I spend more time planning and then not as much time doing, and then we end up doing less. So I just like drop it down to a freaking to-do list, drop it down to a to-do list, and then I just do the list and things get done. And so,
I want to see what's on the to-do list. I want to see how the sausage is made. Like I want my own entertainment. I want to understand how do you make an app that's actually like complicated, unlike my messing around with cursor and whatnot.
Yeah,
or is it like that's the trademark stuff or the private stuff?
I mean, there's bits and pieces. I think the like big picture, the person that wants to make their own apps probably ends up not being the person I'm trying to sell to. So there's like a misalignment there. Right? Because I want somebody who doesn't want to do the app, right? Because if I build content for people that want to do their own thing,
it's like an additional market. right? Sort of like the
Yeah, but if I can't get the
Sam
first
Clementine
market, I
candle
haven't.
situation. Like there is the market of people who we really love candles, and there's a market of schmoes like me who really want to understand how you go from 0 to 1, and is buying the behind the scenes, like,
Yeah,
which is fine, right? Like I think there's a both
this is
market.
the paper. We'll see if it readjusts. Is it backwards?
Ooh, no, it's not backwards.
Okay, good. So
Okay, okay.
this is the paper.
Ah,
But
I like
so
looking at that. This is so entertaining to me. It's, you
the
know how like there's that book, Rituals book, that you like?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
to
yeah,
me,
yeah.
like looking at other people's to-do list as entertainment for me.
Okay, I mean, I'll start. To-do list content feels like the lowest bar for me to start actually posting about it.
Mm-hmm.
That feels reasonable. What was I saying? What were you saying? What were we saying? I forgot what we were saying.
Yeah, like, the folks in the chat, which is mostly Cool Beans
Cool
likes.
beans. Cool beans likes that. I appreciate you. The but
Chat, if
like
you're still there, like, please let Cameron know that we like to-do list content.
or that you don't. That's also used for information. But like it's very much especially with this, we've just run into so many issues with it that, like, honestly, some days it's all I can do to like solve the one problem that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I mean, like I said, there's other crap
What
going
you're
on in my
building
life too.
is new. It's completely novel.
I'm not gonna claim completely novel, but I'll say that I haven't seen it done anywhere before.
I'm like, literally the target market. So I see all the ads. I have not seen your offering elsewhere. So it makes sense that you run into really hard bugs.
Yeah, it's just like I'm an avoidant. Like when something bothers me, I like
Mm-hmm.
avoid it, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's why my master mitigation technique is
Mm-hmm.
to fully just do the thing and not think about it, because like
Mm-hmm.
my instinct is to avoid it. And so with this, it's such a lump on my back of like, hey, I've been like trying to
A
ship this
foil.
specific thing. Yeah, it's like this tumor that I want to ship and excise it because I've been working on this specific thing for like 2 months.
Uh-huh.
And because, and then every time we're close, something else stupid comes up. And it just kind of like sucks to also have to make content about it when you feel so bad about it, I think is really the root of it. Cause it's not like I'm afraid to, it's like, it just bums me out.
But isn't that cringe?
No, being bummed and like for me, it is like very much the visceral. I'm not posting this because I'm worried I'm going to get dragged by kids on the internet. That's not what I feel about this at all. It's like I already am thinking about this thing for 6 hours, 7, 8 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
doing another hour's worth, and then having
Oh.
to cheerfully engage with people about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer, man. Like,
So I feel like the ultimate creator archetype is someone who can mind their suffering for content. Because then you're
you
hedged
think?
easily. Then you're
I mean,
hedged for life.
well, okay, no, okay. The agree asterisk though. The asterisk is that you have to be the Robin Williams version of it. Nobody wants to watch the depressed dude that
Mhm.
hasn't won yet. Nobody wants to watch that. People want to watch winners, and people that are cheerful are winning even while they're losing. Is the
Yeah,
feel.
yeah, that though. Like
But
MC
that's a lie because
Lynch.io did really well.
that's not what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
I can put on a face. I'm great at putting on that face, but like the
Mhm.
reality of making this content would be pretending that I'm doing good with it
Mhm.
when I'm not. And like that's just not really how I want to live my life, you know what I mean? Cuz like also it's not honest. Like I want to make stuff that's honest. I think this show is majority honest. Obviously we play
Yeah,
out parts
yeah.
of it.
But I feel like, to me, like, this is just a Kristen thing then. Like the ultimate entertainment is for me to be able to do that actually. Like, how
I mean,
can I
Chris,
like overcome like all of my suffering by turning it all into content?
well, this is also where we disagree. I don't think all suffering needs to get overcome.
Oh,
I
right,
think
right.
sitting in suffering is pretty important sometimes. That's my.
Mhm.
I mean, Tutorizer. I use that example for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. I know, I know.
Like,
but he was doing his best, and I feel like the reason for his unfortunate demise is biological, unfortunately.
also one of my many rumination paths.
Lewy body dementia?
No, like biological realities in conflict with like spiritual aspirations.
So that's like something that's making it hard for some people.
No, I think that like they used to call it melancholy, right, in the Victorian era. Like
yeah, it sounds so
like
much cooler when you say it that way. I have
yeah,
melancholy.
like melancholic personalities
Yeah.
being part of just like some people's lives. Like that's as someone with a very high internal locus of control and like a belief that you can shape a lot of your destiny, like it's a bummer reality to know that some people, like including my family history, have like a predilection for things like addiction, right? Some people have, they're more likely to get certain kinds of cancer, or they're, obviously body type, like all those things are real, and you got to like fight the fight that you're in with all of the constraints that you have. But it's still just a bummer to be like, oh, like my like baseline might just be a little bit more bummed than other people. Like that's just like a bummer thing to realize sometimes.
We should talk about that in the next episode.
Okay. I'll channel my inner Kafka. Like I'm still reading through those journal entries and really enjoy it. Like it's nice to be kind of seen through time and space.
Well, I think like this is the age-old debate you and I have, which is like whether suffering is optional or not, or desired. And my thesis that I'll end on and cut you off about is that like it's really not about like, oh, I want to maximize my happiness. I'm saying to maximize one's freedom and locus of movement within the domains of feelings. And that like if you think you're tilting towards the melancholic side, like, and you want to have the freedom to not be that way sometimes, what are ways that we can do to deal with that as someone who suffered from crippling depression in the past? All right. So I will end on that happy note.
Woo!
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you, as always.